Okay, now you can spell jibing in two different ways. You can spell it Gybe or Jibe. Okay, they're both spelled the same way. They both mean the same thing. Okay, and jibe or jibing is when the stern crosses the wind. Okay, and there are 7 steps to jibing. To a controlled jibe. Okay. Step number 1. We want to be on a broad reach because when we're jibing, the stern's crossing the wind, so we're going from broad reach to broad reach. And when we're tacking, we're going close haul to close haul. So the bow's crossing the wind. Here, we're going from broad reach to broad reach, so the stern is crossing the wind. So we're going to be on a broad reach. Okay. And the skipper is going to say, ready to jibe. Okay. So again, when the skipper says ready to jibe, there are 2 things that have to happen. Right? We have our main sheet trimmers and our jib trimmers. When we go from broad reach to broad reach, the jib is going from all the way out on one side to all the way out on the other side. Same thing with the main, right? The main's all the way out on one side to all the way out on the other. So when the skipper says ready to jibe, the jib trimmer just has to be ready to, again, switch jib sheets from working jib sheets to lazy jib sheets, right? But we're going from all the way out to all the way out. Okay, so JST, readies, IES, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jib sheets to change rolls. The main sheet trimmer. So the difference between the jibing and the tacking, right? When we tack, we're going through the no-go zone. So, and we're going from close haul to close haul. So we're going from close haul to close haul. So that means the sail's all the way on one side to all the way on the other side. It's really not that far of a distance, right? It's like only like 2 feet, right? Now, it makes a lot of noise and it shakes a lot, so it seems dangerous and it seems out of control. It seems like you could get hurt. You could, but it's a lot less dangerous than a jibe, okay? Also, when we're turning through the no-go zone, because the sails are luffing, the boat's slowing down, right? You're not producing any lift or thrust with the wind, and so the boat's slowing down, so therefore you're losing steerage, right? So that's tacking. When we're jibing, the stern's going through the wind, right? So we're not going through the no-go zone, so the boat's not slowing down. So you're not losing steerage. You're going from broad reach to broad reach. You're not going through the no-go zone. The sails aren't luffing at all, right? And you're going from broad reach to broad reach. The sails are all the way out on one side to all the way out on the other. The further out the mainsail is, the more distance it has to travel to get to the other side. The more distance it has to travel, the faster it's going to be going. The faster, the more inertia, the harder it's going to hit something like your head or the other side of the jibe, and the more damage it could create, right? So what we want to do, and this is why this is a dangerous maneuver, is we want to do a controlled jibe, and what we are controlling is the speed or position of the mainsail. So when the skipper says, ready to jibe, the main sheet trimmer, MST, is going to pull in the mainsail. Okay? And what do you think they're going to say? Ready. Okay? Next step. So now, The next step is the skipper. I'm going to say Gybe. Okay? When the skipper says Gybe, we are not going to turn the boat right away. Okay? When we turn the boat and we go from one side of the wind to the other, because we're not going through the no-go zone, it's going to be instantaneous, right? So we need to be ready for that instantaneous change. So in order to be ready, when the skipper says Gybe, both MST, main sheet trimmer, and skipper, SK, will change sides. Okay? So both the skipper and the main sheet trimmer are going to switch sides. Okay, now the skipper is going to push the tiller 3 to 6 inches. So how much do we push the tiller in attack? 6 to 12, right? The reason for that is as you turn through the no-go zone, the boat slows down, so you need to move the tiller a little bit more to keep the boat turning through the no-go zone. Because we are not going through the no-go zone, the boat's not going to slow down. You only need to move it 3 to 6 inches, or just enough to get the boat turning downwind. Okay? Push the tiller 3 to 6 inches to windward. And we'll start to watch. W-A-T-C-H, right? Mm-hmm. The jib to dance. Okay, dancing. When we tack, we go through the no-go zone. The sails are luffing, they're flapping, they're going straight back. They're making a lot of noise. Okay? Dancing is different. Dancing is what I call the sail dancing. The jib meanderly moves from one side of the boat to the other, kind of dances over to the new side. And why that happens is, as the boat starts turning downwind, the mainsail blocks the wind from the jib. And the jib is wanting to seek out the new air. This is how we get to wing on wing, right? Where the main and the jib are on opposite sides. So the jib will dance to the new side, okay? If the jib was luffing, it would be flapping way out in front of the boat because the wind's going this way, right? When we tack, we're sailing upwind, so the luffing is coming straight back towards us. But dancing, the sail is not going to be in front of us. It's going to be behind, like pointed back towards us, just like luffing. It looks very similar to it, except it meanderly moves from one side to the other. So that's what dancing is. So when the skipper pushes the tiller 3 to 6 inches to windward, they will start watching for the jib to dance. Okay? When the jib dances, 9 times out of 10, the mainsail will follow. Okay? So usually the jib dances first. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the main's in so tight that the jib is out so far that the main will actually switch sides before the jib. But most of the time, the jib will switch first. So when jib dances, the main will follow. Okay? 6. As soon as that mainsail starts to go, okay? So as soon as the main starts to switch sides, as soon as the mainsail starts to move, skipper will say, Jibe, Jibe ho! Okay? That's like saying 4 on a golf course. Why do we say 4 on a golf course?
Watch out.
Watch out. It's telling the people downrange that there's a little white ball coming at your head, right? So when the skipper says jibe ho, it's saying, hey, by the way, the boom's coming across, watch your head. Okay? When the skipper says jibe ho, 2 things have to happen simultaneously. 1, main sheet trimmer, release main sheet. Okay. 2, skipper stops the boat turning at the new broad reach. Okay, so what's happening here? Step 1, be on broad reach. Skipper says what? Ready to jibe. When the skipper says ready to jibe, 2 things happen. The jib trimmer needs to be ready to switch jib sheets from working to working on the other side. And the main sheet needs to be trimmed all the way in. When those 2 things happen, they can say ready. Okay? Now, when we pull that main sheet in, we are storing kinetic energy. Okay, remember that, right? We're storing that kinetic energy. So the crew has said ready. The skipper then says jibing. When the skipper says jibing, both the main sheet trimmer and the skipper will stand up and switch sides. When they've switched sides, the skipper will push the tiller to windward 3 to 6 inches. That's when the boat is going to start to turn downwind. And the skipper's going to watch for the jib to start to dance. Once the jib dances, the main will follow. When the main follows, the skipper yells, jibe ho, as soon as the main starts to leave. When the skipper says jibe ho, remember we stored all that kinetic energy? That kinetic energy needs to be released. And it's released when the main sheet trimmer eases the main sheet out. If the main sheet trimmer doesn't ease the main sheet out quick enough, then the boat's going to heel over and round up into the wind, and that's why the skipper has to stop the boat turning at the new broad reach. Does that make sense? Now, this is a controlled jibe. The slower you go through this jibe, which is why it's only 3 to 6 inches, the less kinetic energy you have, the more control you have over the boat. The faster you turn, the more kinetic energy you're building, the harder and everything's going to, just the harder and faster everything's going to happen. Okay? The deeper you are in the broad reach, the easier this maneuver is going to be. If you're not quite deep with a broad reach, let's say you're more at a beam reach, the harder the maneuver is going to be, right? Because the closer you are to a beam reach, the more, again, the more kinetic energy, the faster you're going, the more speed you're going to have, right? Now, at any time along this way, again, the accidental jibe happens, but we don't want it to happen. And what is a telltale sign that we might have an accidental jibe? When the sails go wing on wing or the jib starts to dance, right? So if the jib starts to dance, what does the skipper need to do?
Call it out. Say the alert word.
Yeah, but we don't want to jibe. You're not ready to jibe, so you're not going to call out. So the skipper wants to steer away from the accidental jibe. How would you steer away from the accidental jibe? Huh? You push the tiller to leeward and head up, right? So what we say is the 3 T's. Tiller towards trouble. So what is the trouble in the accidental jibe? The boom. Push the tiller toward the boom, and the boat will head up away from that accidental jibe. Okay? Now, the other thing is jib trimmers. I've just explained to you what dancing is, right? It kind of looks like luffing. If we know that the telltale sign for accidental jibe is the jib dancing and going to wing on wing, right? But we as jib trimmers mistake dancing for luffing and we pull the jib in. Is the jib able to dance then? It's not, right? Because you pulled it all the way in. So what you're doing is you're handing your skipper a loaded gun, right? And the bullet is the boom. So you're putting your own life at risk. The skipper's not going to get in trouble. He or she are sitting behind the boom, right? That boom could swing across. They're not going to get hit. But you trimming the jib are going to get hit, right? Or could get hit. So the key there for jib trimmers is not to over trim the jib sheet to prevent the jib from dancing. Does that make sense? Because if you over trim the jib downwind in a broad reach and the skipper or the wind shifts or the skipper turns by accident, and all of a sudden you're getting close to the accidental jibe, and the jib doesn't dance, the skipper has no idea you're getting close to the accidental jibe. So don't over trim the jib when you're sailing downwind in a broad reach, is basically what I'm saying. And we're going to be checking that on the water.
So you want to let the jib dance whenever you're approaching an accidental jibe?
Yeah, so that way you can say, hey, you're getting close to an accidental jibe, let's head up. Or push the tiller towards trouble, which is the boom. Exactly. You do not want to pull the jib in if it starts to dance.
Is there any call outs that negate the jib trimmer to the...
Hey, your jib's dancing. Right? But it's going to be, if the jib is out and out far enough, it's going to dance fully to the other side. Everyone's going to see it dance. If you accidentally pull it in, then you won't see it, and you're handing your skipper a loaded gun, and you're putting your life in their hands. Right? Kind of like what Alec Baldwin did, right?
Ooh.
I'm serious. Like,
Yeah.
he got handed a loaded gun, right? And someone's dead because of it.
Yeah.
Any questions about controlled jibe versus the accidental jibe? 7 steps to jibe.